Welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. My name's Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at 14 licks to play over a C minor groove. So the way the lesson's going to work is I'm going to tell you what the groove is and the chords that are used, and then you'll see me play full solo, and then we'll come back on the other side and I'll pull the licks apart one by one. There's tab available and all that kind of good stuff. So before we get stuck into it, the groove that we're playing over is a little 4-bar pattern, and it starts with 2 bars of C minor 7. And then there's 1 bar where it goes to A flat 7 down to G7, and then back to another bar of C minor 7. Okay, so this is a bit unusual. It's got a bit of a twist to it because you wouldn't normally expect to see an A flat 7 down to a G7 in a C minor blues. But actually, that kind of thing happens occasionally. You do find songs with this kind of move in it. So, in the example solo, you're going to see me approach that little particular move 4 different ways. And I'll come back on the other side and I'll show you all of the licks and everything. We'll talk about how to approach those kind of interesting chord moves. So, here's the solo. Okay, so that was the solo. What I'll do now is I'll break that down and take it apart lick by lick. But before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, the backing track was provided by Elevated Jam Tracks. If you're interested, take a look in the description below. They make some fantastic backing tracks, and that's what I've used for this lesson. Okay, secondly, there's tab available for this lesson, absolutely free of charge. If you'd like a copy of the tab, send an email to me. My details in the description below. Ask for the lesson. We call this one Blues Licks for a C minor groove, and next time I'm online I will simply reply to the email and send you a copy of the tab. Always make sure that you include the name of the lesson in the email so I know which PDF to send you. Okay, anything else? Yes, so the tab is professionally produced, and that is paid for by the Patreon supporters and those who leave a tip in my PayPal tip jar. So a big thank you to those who do that. And as a way of saying thank you to the Patreon supporters for keeping the channel going, they get a few extra files like the original Guitar Pro file and that kind of thing, MP3s and the likes. Okay, on with the lesson. I'm going to take the licks apart one by one, and when we get to those licks that go over that A flat 7 to G7 move, we'll talk a little bit about them. So, lick 1 starts, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3. And nice and slow. Okay, nothing fancy there, just box 1 into box 2 for C minor pentatonic. Lick 2 now goes like this. And nice and slow. Okay, and lick 3 then goes like this. And nice and slow. And that's just box position 3 of C minor pentatonic, doesn't stray outside of the C minor pentatonic. And actually that's the first approach to that A flat 7, I should say, to G7 move. Basically, I just ignore it and I just carry on playing C minor pentatonic as usual. And as you can tell, it fits perfectly well. Okay, so that was lick 3. Lick 4 then goes like this. And nice and slow. Lick 5 then goes like this. And nice and slow. Okay, and lick 6 then goes like this. Now we're jumping down. That was box position 1. We're going to jump down to box position 5 of the minor pentatonic. We're really kind of getting around the minor pentatonic on the neck here. So here's lick 6. And nice and slow. Okay, you probably recognize that one. I use that one quite a lot in my solos. Okay, lick 7 then goes like this. And nice and slow. Okay, and what's going on here is that note there isn't in that last note. It's not in the minor pentatonic scale. It's actually the second of C minor, so it's a D. But the important thing is I'm picking that one because that note is a note in the chord of G7. So I'm kind of ignoring the A flat 7, this chord. But when we get to this chord, I'm highlighting this note. Or here. And the idea is by picking out that one particular note, kind of highlights the whole chord, because that one note is outside of our usual scale. So we drop on that, make a bit of a kind of a special event of it. And that what that really does is it highlights the melody change from the C minor where we've been to really emphasizing that this is now a G note. Okay, so that was, what was that? Lick 7, lick 8, then goes like this. And nice and slow. Lick 9, then goes like this. And nice and slow. Okay, but just box position 2. Lick 10 then goes like this. And nice and slow. And to count that one, it's basically 1 a nana, 2 a nana. It's the easiest way of counting it. Okay, so then we're up to lick 11. Lick 11, again, is now playing over the A flat 7 to G7. And what we're going to do is we're going to just walk down the C minor blues scale. And that goes like this. Okay, and nice and slow. Okay, so the interesting thing here is that we're actually just using the C minor blues scale because the way I think of this, there's kind of some funkiness going on with the chords. The chords are jumping outside of the regular scale. So there's kind of like a bit of weirdness going on in the chords. And anytime you've got a bit of weirdness going on, use the blues scale because it's got that flat 5 in there. So it's got that kind of outside sort of vibe to it. So yeah, basically something weird going on with the chords. Play the blues scale and it just kind of fits over everything. Okay, so what was that? That was lick 11. Lick 12 then, actually not lick 12. What happens in the solo is I actually repeated lick 6. It was an improvised solo, mostly improvised, and I didn't even realize I'd just gone back to playing one of my favorite licks. So here it is again for completeness. Lick 6 goes like this. And nice and slow. Okay, and then we're up to lick 12. Lick 12 goes like this. and nice and slow. Okay, lick 13 now is again over the A flat 7 to G7, and this is the last time we go through it. And what we're going to do is we're going to play an A flat 7 arpeggio followed by a G7 arpeggio. So that goes like this. Okay, and nice and slow. Here's the A flat 7 arpeggio. Okay, so those are the notes of an A flat 7 chord. To a G7 arpeggio, which goes like this. And again, nice and slow, that second half. Put them together, you get this. Now, I'm using one finger to get between both the G string and the B string. You can use two fingers, it might be easier. Anyway, whichever way you do it, that's where it is. It's an A flat 7 arpeggio into a G7 arpeggio. I will say most of the solo was improvised. That one, I'd worked out that lick beforehand in order to make sure I knew where I was playing over. Okay, so then where are we? Lick 14. This is the very last one. That goes like this. Now, lick 14 actually continues into the next bar, which goes into the second section of the song, so it goes over an F minor chord, but it's basically just hitting a C as the very last note. I'll do it again nice and slow. Okay, so that was all the licks there. Over an interesting groove with a C minor 7, and then one bar where we're going A flat 7 to G7, which is kind of like a bit of an unusual chord change, but it sounds really nice and bluesy and groovy. So, little recap. We go through the whole progression 4 times. The first time, we just play C minor pentatonic and kind of ignore the fact that this kind of funky chord change is happening. The second time through, what we do is I pull out one note from the G7 chord to really highlight it and make that one kind of chord change really pop out by emphasizing that one particular note. Third time, just use C minor blues scale, because that blues scale's got that flat 5 in it, so it's kind of like an outside sounding scale anyway, so that works really well. And then the fourth time, really kind of emphasize those changes by playing notes from the arpeggios of the A flat 7 to the G7, and with that one, I did have to kind of really work that one out beforehand and practice it. So that was all the licks. Big thank you for the Patreon supporters who keep the channel running, everything going. Remember, there's free tab available. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave you with the whole solo again with the names of the Patreon supporters to say a big thank you, because they're the ones that make all of this possible. Take care, and I'll see you next time.